Holy, what a game. What a game, what a win from Queensland. A typical, gritty, backs against the wall, Queensland type of win. A crazy effort from the Maroons in that final 10 minutes with a man down. Some could say Queensland had no right to winning that match, being a man down. But in typical fashion, they do find a way to win. And it was hectic. Let's talk about some players that stood out or some players we were excited to see heading into the game. Number one, if you watched my preview or lineup prediction video, you'll know who I'm going to talk about first. The Redcliffe Dolphin, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. Now, maybe to toot my own horn, but I'm going to. We did call for the hammer to replace Dane Gagai. It was a bit of a hot take given that Gagai is a staple in that Queensland team, but that speed, man, that speed. And his game sense is evolving. We were hoping that they'd pick him to lock down Latrell Mitchell's side, but he actually got moved to Tommy Turbo and was equally as effective. But yeah, Stoke for the hammer, he got that opportunity and he shined. That's stuff you love to see. As for a few other Queenslanders, I thought that Ruben Cotter, obviously the man of the match. Billy actually pulled a Swiftie on us. We wanted Cotter to start, but he got named on the bench. And then not long before kickoff, we saw Big Tino Fa'aso Maleaui and Cotter got the go-ahead to start. In the front row, might I add. I was also thinking of him starting at lock and Carrigan having impact off the bench. But yeah, Cotter, the bona fide tree chopper, doing what he does best. Cutting blokes down for 80 bloody minutes. I also want to tip my hat to Reece Walsh. A pretty solid debut on the big stage with a couple line break assists and a peach of a pass for a try assist. Such a tough ball to get off, but he's been doing that for the Bronx all this season. I thought their skipper DCE outplayed his opposition yet again. No shade to Nathan Cleary. It is what it is. And Murray Taulangi, I was a little iffy even though I had him in my side, but man, he came up with some massive plays in that first half. The back five in general, the scramble defense, a word will say a lot. Tippable. Before we move on to the Blues, another thing I was really looking forward to, like everyone does for State of Origin, is the clash between the forward packs. And it wasn't as aggressive as it was last year. It would be hard to top that game 3 last year. Part of it had to do with the stop-starty nature of the game, especially in that first half. I feel like the ref was getting a little too involved. Didn't really get the leeway that we've seen from them in the past when it comes to Origin. For the most part, Queensland did win that, little power struggle between the two packs. Up until we'll use this to segue into the Blues. Liam Martin, that impact off the bench, I thought his performance coming off the pine is the epitome of an impact player. He was probably my best player for the Blues, followed by a couple Panthers and Brian To'o, Jerome Luai, who copped a lot of flack for his selection, but I think he played better than Cleary, who had a kind of a quiet game, not gonna lie. As for the Blues' other two debutants, the quote-unquote mongrel, the aggression, Hudson Young and Tevita Pangai Jr., we didn't really get that. The New South Wales skipper, despite getting plenty runs on the board, I thought had a bit of a shaky game. Like, it wasn't a bad game, he was definitely trying, but man's passing game still lacking a bit. The Blues attack in general just couldn't get going. Not sure if we should be surprised by that, given that the Panthers attack this year hasn't been that great. I was chatting with a mate of mine and the question I posed to him was, would a spine of Cody Walker, Adam Reynolds and Latrell Mitchell produce more points than the current Blues spine? I think it's a fair question given that Walker and Reynolds are still in form. By no means do I think it's panic stations for the Blues. I mean, they definitely should have iced this game. It was their game to lose. That try that Hamiso scored at the end, let's keep it real, should not have been scored. I guess the Blues scramble defense wasn't as quite efficient or effective as the Maroons in the first half. I mean, they beat players like Nico, Cleary, and then the Fox for speed. What a moment. I'm trying to think of other positives for the Blues. I can't really think of any other standouts other than, the Brian To'os, Luai, Liam Martin, Cam Murray I thought was pretty effective as well. It'll be interesting to see what they do for game 2. That's the problem with these weird Freddie selections, if they win the game, he's a genius, but if they lose, in this type of fashion especially, the knives are out. Now they've got quite the mountain to climb, a must-win game in enemy territory, where we see players like Tevita Pangai Jr., Hudson Young getting another crack. I can already see people calling for James Tedesco's head. It might be a little drastic, but I think Freddie will stick to his guns, especially in the key positions. I'd be shocked if Luai gets replaced with Nico Hines. If anything, Hines deserves a crack in that 7 after that Cleary performance. The game overall in terms of quality wasn't the greatest for Origin standard, and again it was due to the stoppages. It wasn't your typical war of attrition, if you will. Who folds first? Both teams made a ton of errors. I've got the stat sheet up right now. 11 errors for the Blues, 8 for the Maroons. But yeah, we're going to wrap it up there. That's my quick thoughts on Origin Game 1, a banger of a match, especially if you're a Queenslander. I'm interested to know though, if you're in Freddie's shoes, would you axe any players from this game? Who would you bring in? And let me know in the comment section down below. For now, we're going to wrap it up there. If you did enjoy that, be sure to run straight at that like button. And for more Rugby League related content and more content in general, be sure to drop a cheeky sub. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you later.